Hello, welcome to my channel. Today Katie and Hope find themselves circling an idea so risky, it could change everything if they act on it and blow up in their faces if they don't handle it carefully. The proposition starts as a whisper, the kind of what if that people usually dismiss before it gains traction. But the more they talk, the more it refuses to fade. Instead, it sharpens into something real, something actionable, something that could shift the balance of power at Forrester and beyond. Hope is still reeling from the pause on her line, trying to regain footing in a company that suddenly feels less like home and more like contested ground. Katie, watching from a slightly different vantage point, sees patterns Hope is too close to recognize. She's seen cycles of control, reaction, retaliation, each generation repeating the same moves under new circumstances. To Katie, this moment is not just about Hope's setback. It's about whether they keep playing by rules that were never designed to benefit them equally. The proposition they begin to consider is told, create leverage instead of waiting for it. That could mean launching something outside the Forrester umbrella, aligning with unexpected partners, or strategically exposing decisions that have been framed as purely business but carry unmistakable personal undertones. None of the options are clean. All of them carry consequences. Hope hesitates at first. She doesn't want to become what she's been fighting against, someone who uses pressure and strategy as weapons rather than solutions. But Katie challenges that thinking. She argues there's a difference between manipulation and self-defense. If the playing field is already uneven, refusing to adapt doesn't make you principled, it makes you vulnerable. Still, Hope pushes back. She worries about fallout, about relationships that could fracture beyond repair, about becoming someone she no longer recognizes. Katie listens but doesn't retreat. She knows Hope's instinct is to preserve harmony, even when harmony is an illusion. This time, Katie insists they need to be honest about what's actually happening. Power is being exercised decisively on one side, and passivity on the other side is not a strategy. Their conversations grow more detailed. They outline possibilities, test scenarios, anticipate reactions. What if they secure outside funding and relaunch on their own terms? What if they present evidence that internal decisions have been biased? What if they force a public conversation that leadership cannot control? Every option feels like lighting a match in a room filled with gasoline. Hope begins to realize that avoiding explosion doesn't mean avoiding damage. It often just delays it. The pause on her line was already a shockwave. Doing nothing won't reverse it. If anything, silence could make the situation permanent. Katie's role becomes clearer. She's not pushing Hope toward chaos. She's pushing her toward agency. For too long, Hope has reacted. Now, she has the chance to initiate. That shift is uncomfortable, but it's also empowering. Meanwhile, far from the corporate tension and strategic debates, Dylan faces a very different kind of crisis. One that doesn't revolve around influence or reputation, but fear. The call comes at a time when he least expects it. His phone rings, and something about the timing alone sets him on edge. When he answers, the voice on the other end sends a chill straight through him. It's not just what is said, it's how it's said. Controlled. Intentional. Threatening without needing to raise volume. Dylan has been here before, and that's what makes it worse. This is not the first terrifying call he's received. The pattern is becoming impossible to ignore. Each contact feels like part of something larger, something carefully orchestrated to unsettle him, to keep him off balance, to remind him that he is being watched, followed, or targeted in ways he doesn't fully understand. He tries to stay composed during the call, but his mind races. Who is behind this? What do they want? Is this about something from his past, or something happening now? Every question leads to more uncertainty. When the call ends, silence doesn't bring relief. It amplifies the fear. Dylan replays the conversation repeatedly, analyzing tone, wording, pauses, searching for clues that might explain what's happening. But the ambiguity seems deliberate. Whoever is reaching out wants him to feel uncertain. Fear thrives in the unknown, and that's exactly where Dylan is being kept. He considers telling someone, but hesitates. Without clear answers, He worries he won't be taken seriously or worse, that involving others might escalate the situation. Fear isolates, and Dylan feels that isolation tightening around him. Back in Katie and Hope's world, the proposition evolves from theory into decision point. They can't keep circling it forever. At some point, they either act or walk away. Hope asks the question that matters most. If they do this, who are they afterward? Katie doesn't answer immediately. Because that's the truth. At the center of it, big moves don't just change outcomes, they change people. You don't walk into a strategic battle and come out untouched. But Katie also knows that inaction has its own cost. People change when they are silenced, sidelined, or slowly pushed out of relevance. The difference is that those changes happen quietly, without intention. At least this path is chosen. Hope begins to see that clearly. The fear doesn't disappear, but it becomes something she can stand beside rather than run from. She doesn't want revenge. She wants fairness, opportunity, and control over her future. If achieving that requires bold action, maybe bold action is justified. Still, she sets boundaries. Whatever they do, it cannot be rooted in lies or destruction for its own sake. She refuses to win by becoming something she fundamentally rejects. Katie agrees, though she knows even principled moves can create chaos. As they prepare to take the next step, whatever form it ultimately takes, the sense of inevitability grows. Something is going to happen. The quiet phase is ending. At the same time, Dylan's situation intensifies. Another message follows the call, short, direct, unsettling. It confirms what he feared. This isn't random. It's targeted. Now, the question is no longer whether he's in danger, it's how much. Dylan starts connecting dots, revisiting past interactions, reconsidering people he once trusted. The world around him begins to feel unstable, like every familiar face could hide something he missed before. Sleep becomes difficult. Focus slips. Even routine moments carry tension. Fear doesn't stay contained, it spreads, touching every part of life. The contrast between the two storylines is striking. Katie and Hope are choosing to step into risk. Dylan is being pulled into it against his will. Yet all three are facing the same underlying reality. Control is fragile, and once it slips, everything changes. Katie and Hope move closer to action. Dylan moves deeper into uncertainty. None of them can turn back easily now. Hope knows that once they act, reactions will come fast and hard. Steffi won't stay silent. The company won't stay neutral. Lines will be drawn clearly. There will be no pretending this is just another disagreement. Katie prepares for that. She's seen enough battles to understand that timing, presentation, and clarity will matter as much as the move itself. Dylan, meanwhile, reaches a breaking point. Silence is no longer an option. Whether it's law enforcement, a trusted ally, or someone with resources to investigate, he knows he needs help, even if asking for it risks making everything more real. The tension across both paths builds towards something unavoidable. For Katie and Hope, it's the moment they stop talking and start doing. For Dylan, it's the moment he stops questioning and starts confronting. In both cases, fear is no longer something to avoid, it's something to move through. And once that happens, nothing stays the same. Katie can feel the moment tipping from theory into action. There's a difference between talking through possibilities and committing to one, and she recognizes that line is right in front of them now. Hope sees it too. The room feels heavier, quieter, not because there's nothing left to say, but because what comes next will carry consequences. They revisit the core of their idea, testing it one last time from every angle. If they move forward, it won't be a half step. It will be visible, undeniable, and impossible to quietly undo. That's what makes it explosive. Not just the impact, but the fact that it forces everyone else to react. Hope asks the hardest question again, but more directly this time. What happens if this works? Katie doesn't sugarcoat it. If it works, it shifts power. It challenges decisions that were treated as final. It reopens doors that were deliberately closed. But it also paints a target. Success won't end conflict. It may intensify it. That reality lands heavily, but it doesn't push Hope away anymore. Instead, it clarifies something for her. She's been trying to avoid conflict for so long that she hasn't asked whether avoiding it has actually protected anything. Her line is still on hold. Her position is still uncertain. Her voice is still minimized in key decisions. Avoiding conflict hasn't saved her, it's just delayed confrontation. Katie sees the shift in Hope's expression. Not anger, not desperation, something steadier. Resolve. They begin outlining a concrete path, not just bold, but structured. If they go external, they need funding, branding clarity, and a launch strategy that doesn't look like retaliation but reinvention. If they stay internal, they need evidence, allies, and a proposal strong enough to force reconsideration without looking like rebellion for its own sake. Hope leans toward reinvention. There's something cleaner about building rather than fighting. But she also understands that building outside the system sends a message just as loud as challenging it within. Katie points out the strategic advantage control. Outside, they control narrative, timing, and direction. Inside, they're still playing within a framework someone else can tilt. That point lingers. Meanwhile, Dylan's world keeps tightening. After the second message, he stops pretending this is something he can simply endure. The fear has shifted into something sharper urgency. Whoever is behind the calls isn't just trying to scare him, they're escalating. The pattern is becoming more deliberate, more intrusive. He starts documenting everything. Times, numbers, exact wording. It's a small step, but it gives him something solid to hold on to. Fear thrives in chaos. Documentation creates structure. Still, structure doesn't stop the dread. He replays the latest message again and again. There's a line in it that stands out, not an explicit threat, but a suggestion of proximity, as if whoever is reaching out knows more about his day-to-day life than they should. That thought unsettles him more than anything said directly. Back with Katie and Hope, the planning grows sharper. They discuss timing, when to move, how to present, who to inform first. Every decision feels like it could tip the balance one way or another. Hope raises one more concern: collateral damage. She's not just thinking about Steffi. She's thinking about everyone connected to the company: employees, teams, people who didn't make the decision but will feel its effects. She doesn't want to become the cause of instability for people who rely on that stability. Katie acknowledges that risk but reframes it. Instability already exists. It's just unevenly distributed. Some people feel it more than others. The question isn't whether disruption happens, but whether it leads to something better or simply preserves something flawed. Hope doesn't answer immediately, but the silence isn't hesitation anymore. It's consideration. Dylan, meanwhile, reaches out carefully, cautiously. He chooses someone he trusts, someone level-headed who won't dismiss him, but also won't panic. Explaining it out loud feels strange at first, like saying it makes it more real. But once he starts, he can't stop. The calls, the tone, the message, it all spills out. The response is exactly what he needs: calm, serious, and grounded. He's told what he already knows, but needed to hear from someone else. This isn't something to handle alone. There's talk of next steps, reporting it, tracing numbers, increasing awareness of surroundings. Practical actions? Nothing dramatic, but each one shifts Dylan from passive fear into active response. It doesn't erase the threat, but it changes his position in relation to it. Back in Katie and Hope's orbit, a decision finally forms, not in one dramatic declaration, but in a series of small agreements that lock into place something. And this time, they're not waiting for it to happen to them. They're going forward. Not recklessly, not emotionally, intentionally. Hope feels it the moment the decision settles. A mix of fear and clarity. The fear hasn't disappeared, but it's no longer in control. For the first time since her line was put on hold, she feels like she's shaping her future instead of reacting to it. Katie, watching her, knows this is the turning point. not the outcome that's still ahead, but the shift in mindset that makes outcome possible. They begin setting things in motion. Contacts are reached. Meetings are quietly arranged. Information starts to move, not loudly, not publicly, but with purpose. The groundwork of something significant begins to take shape beneath the surface. At the same time, Dylan's situation escalates again. Another call. This time, it's shorter, sharper, and unmistakably closer to a threat. There's no ambiguity left in the tone. The intent is clearer now, not just to unsettle, but to control through fear. But something has changed in Dylan too. He doesn't freeze the way he did before. He listens. He notes. He ends the call without engaging more than necessary. And then he acts. He reports it. He shares everything he's documented. He follows through on the steps he hesitated to take before. Fear is still there, but now it's paired with action, and that combination is harder to break. The parallel between both storylines becomes more defined. Katie and Hope are stepping into risk to reclaim control. Dylan is stepping into action to regain safety. Different motivations, same shift from reaction to decision. Hope and Katie's move begins to ripple outward, subtle at first, a question here, a rumor there, a sense that something is changing even if no one can fully define it yet. People start paying attention. And in environments like this, attention is the first sign that impact is coming. Hope knows Steffi will find out eventually, probably sooner rather than later, and when she does, the reaction won't be quiet. But for once, Hope isn't bracing for it the same way. She's preparing. Dylan, on his end, knows the situation isn't over. Reporting it doesn't end the threat, it begins a process. There may be more calls, more escalation, more fear. But now there's also support, structure, a path forward that doesn't rely on him facing it alone. And that changes everything. Katie looks at Hope and sees not the person who was sidelined, but the one who's stepping forward. Dylan looks at his situation and sees not just danger, but a way through it. The tension hasn't broken yet, but it's no longer directionless. It's building toward